Hey friends, welcome to this video. I thought I'd make this video just to highlight or to discuss how I would recommend learning to code a new programming language. So there's many ways to learn how to code. Just as with anything, you've got to find what works best for you. So we all learn in certain ways, so I guess the key, regardless of code or whatever it is that you're learning, is to figure out what or how you learn the best. Some people learn quite well when they're just, thrown into the deep end, and it can become a sort of hostile environment, but, some people thrive there and that's how they learn the best. Whereas others, they do the opposite and they do not learn well that way, and they need a bit more of a friendlier approach. For example, having someone there that they can depend on every now and again. Not saying being spoon-fed or anything, but just knowing that they're supported, goes a long way. So just an example of two different ways. So yeah, I think it's best to find out what works best for you and how the optimal way for you to learn, because ultimately you want to do it the best way for yourself and the most effective way for yourself. The unfortunate side of it is that sometimes it can take a fair bit of trial and error, and sometimes we don't really have control over the situations we're put in. So sometimes we just have to do the best that we can with what we've been given, or whatever situation that we're in, There's a lot of ways that one can learn how to code, I mean, just with the internet alone, it's opened up so many new ways, so many new opportunities to learn, to read, to interact with people all over the world, and so many resources. At the same time as it being helpful, it can also be overwhelming in the sense that, where do you even begin to start? What do you start with? How many things do you read? That sort of thing. So yeah, I guess some conventional ways of doing it is, the usual, going to school, university, even online courses. Most of these are paid for sort of things. And, those are the more conventional route to go. Either way, they're all beneficial in the sense that regardless of what you choose to learn later on, these sort of courses can really give a good grounding or a good base for you to start with, because as you go on, I mean, you will never stop learning, you will never stop evolving your knowledge. The learning process is going to be continuous throughout your life, especially in the coding space, because everything is changing daily and things are getting upgraded daily. You have to keep learning in order to stay relevant and to stay up to date and to code with the latest things and be able to keep up with all the trends and the latest things, So yeah, so those are some of the conventional ways. There's also things like online tutorials, there's boot camps. If you have an idea or something that you want to build, you just take that idea and you just run with it and try to build it. That's also a good way. So yeah, so these are some of the ways one can learn. There's also having someone sort of mentor, someone that can teach you or guide you. I guess the ideal is a combination of a few of these things, but again, it depends on your situation, your where you are in life, what do you have available to you, that sort of thing. Some of the ways that I used to learn, I think having a degree or some baseline course is always good, because remember, this video I'll only discuss learning programming languages, whereas there's a whole host of principles, the whole software life cycle, clean coding, all these sort of things which you need to have learned, kind of beforehand. Things like design patterns, all these things tie in. So by having a sort of a degree or having a base online course or anything of that nature that covers all these sort of aspects on a whole will be a good way to go initially. So once you have that base and you have all the principles, all the high level overview of everything, once you have that, then you can then sort of target specific, if you want to learn various programming languages or specific ones, then it's a better way to go. And there are definitely some where, they call it a stack, I guess, various languages that fit well together. Depending on what you read, there's different stacks of languages that, work well together. It would be ideal, to learn all of those maybe together, for example, especially if you want to build some sort of application where you'd most likely probably use the different aspects within that stack. One should continuously read up and brush up on their knowledge on the principles, design patterns, clean code, all those kind of things continuously, because we can get into a routine or into a comfort space where you forget some of these things, and occasionally we all need to be reminded of them. So definitely worth remembering. Some of the things I did or used to do when learning a new language would just be, I try to do as many online tutorials as I could. I tried to do a lot of online courses like Pluralsight, Udemy, those kind of courses. But what I did find that I kept doing was I did get a bit lazy, in the sense that, so for example, if I were to do some online courses and watch the videos, I'd watch the videos, but then I would start following along with coding with the teacher, and then it would kind of phase out, and eventually I'd just be watching the tutorial instead of myself actually coding along with him or her, So that's one thing to look out for, and it's very beneficial to keep that coding along, and sometimes even staying ahead of them. Just watching or just reading, going through tutorials can help you only so far. You need you need to apply the knowledge and to use it, and from there you can see how different things work together. Errors that you get, you get used to certain things. Another thing I used to do, definitely not initially, but over some time I started to ask a lot of questions. I was lucky that I had someone who I could ask questions regularly, so if I encountered anything that I had a problem with, I'd just note it down, and then when I met up with these guys, I would just ask them all these questions, and they were quite good in that they helped me a lot like that. So that was very helpful. Then what I mentioned before on building things, I did build a few small things, various applications or apps or whatever. Definitely not enough that I should have, and I'll touch on this a bit later on because it's quite a key point. So how would I do it, or how would I recommend doing it now? Or how would I advise myself to do it, I guess? What I would say, definitely just start, reading up on the language or the stack that I want to learn about, just to get an overview, a high-level view of it, to know what's involved in it, that sort of thing. And, get the principles, some of the syntax, all that going initially. I'm not saying don't do any tutorials or anything like that. It's definitely worth doing, and, going through a couple of tutorials, maybe some online Pluralsight courses or something like that. The key, I think, is to just build something. Just take something that you want to build and build it within that stack or that language that you want to learn. The problem or the excuse that I always had, I didn't know what to build, or I was always like, there's already, if I had an idea and I found that that site or that application was already made, I'll be like, it's already been made, why try to program it again, that sort of thing, that sort of mindset. I think that was the biggest mistake, because no matter what it is, you should just build it. Whether whether your application does nothing, whether it just prints your name to the screen, whether it takes your fingerprint, whatever it is, just build it. Don't think about building it to use it. Just build it. And the reason is because, one, you have this idea that you want to build something that you're going to use. Sometimes it's difficult to think of ideas, so if you just start building something, it may evolve into something entirely different. And in the process, you get some really good application knowledge, and you're able to apply and research different things within that language, and a whole lot of learning takes place which you wouldn't have done the confines of certain tutorials or certain online courses. So don't worry about what your app should do or what your website should do. Just start, just build it, just Think of the most simplest thing that you want it to do and just build it like that. Don't worry too much about the end goal, because your goal is to learn and apply the knowledge, and through that you will definitely do both those things. Maybe a bit of a long video just for that one key message, I guess, but discussion before gives a bit of context, I hope. If you have better ways that you learn or have tried and have learned, please do throw them in the comments below. I'd love to hear them, and I'm sure many people find that beneficial. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.